Welcome to the Sports Machine with Brian and Dean. Great show yesterday. Got another one coming up right now. Tuesday, November 24th, as recorded in Dallas, Texas. Monday Night Football. Denver Broncos, is there a quarterback controversy? Rock and roll.
Nope.
NBA power rankings. And what happens first? Golden State Warriors losing or the Philadelphia Tanks winning? Also our MVP discussion, NFL. And of course, somebody gets really old. I have an all-time great on mine. Not going to want to miss it. Let's get started in the NFL. Last night's game between the Buffalo Bills and New England Patriots, probably a little closer than many expected, but Rex Ryan does have a way of kind of getting in Tom Brady's grill, if I could say that.
That's just Rex being Rex. Rex wouldn't be Rex if he didn't find a way to get on somebody's nerves or, grind somebody's gears in the wrong way.
New England did come out with the win, 20-13, but it was hard fought. Tom Brady did have a tougher time than he's had all year, but it was still a pretty good game. That was kind of the difference in the game to me was Buffalo Bills had Tyrod Taylor, New England Patriots had Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, and this is according to ESPN stats and info, most wins by a starting quarterback versus a team since the 1970 merger. You had Brett Favre with 26 versus the Lions, Tom Brady with 25 versus the Bills. Just dominating the Bills. Like, that's one city who can't wait till Tom Brady retires. Like, they're counting the days till this brother hangs it up.
Tom Brady talked about playing till he's 50, so.
Well, you know what, Buffalo? Your suffering is going to be going down for quite some time if that happens. Patriots are 14-1 at home during primetime games since 2007. They've won 7 straight. Longest win streak in Patriots history, including the playoffs right now. They have 13. 2007 they had 18. 2003 through 2004, of course you already know they had 21. Once again, it's just me going over how great this franchise has been, not just against opponents, but since the 2003-2004 season.
AKA Tom Brady, the arrival.
Exactly. Guess you call it the eclipse because he eclipsed over. When he eclipsed over, who was that? Drew Bledsoe. And Drew Bledsoe left that's the funny thing was Drew Bledsoe still got a ring, but because he wasn't playing, he was salty about it. It's like, bro, you still got a ring.
He should be.
Okay.
Later on in the show, we're going to discuss Brock Osweiler or Peyton Manning. I think Peyton Manning's going to just be happy if he gets a ring if Brock Osweiler brings it home.
When you think about, once again, we'll discuss that. We'll have that discussion coming up for you later. But as of right now, the Bills have not separated themselves from the Jets at trying to potentially get into the playoffs in their last wild card spot.
Oh, the race has become way more than the Bills and the Jets now.
Right.
Both 5-5. You got the Jaguars at 4-6.
Right.
The Raiders are 4-6.
Exactly.
The Chiefs are 5-5, and the Chiefs have been playing really well.
Right.
Without Jamal Charles, actually.
Right.
It was a 2-horse race until they started losing.
And see, that's the problem right there. They was in this game. First quarter they was down 3-0. Second quarter they was down 10-3. They was playing well in this game. If it wasn't for a few, ref mishaps. Haven't there been a lot of that this season though? A lot of just strange ref calls, strange ref mishaps this year.
Yeah,
more than usual though. Like compared to last season, even the season where the refs was on strike for the half season and they had the sub refs come in, I mean, even then, it wasn't as many.
There was only that one where the Hail Mary, and I was
Right.
actually on the replacement refs on that one. I was the only one. I already know, but
So
50-50 balls go to the offensive player. Always have, always will.
Right.
But for some reason, with the replacement refs, they didn't like it because back then Seattle wasn't supposed to be good.
yeah, that's how it started. And then all of a sudden they found out this team was actually pretty good. But that was then. But like this season, like I'm starting to wonder, like, what's really going on with the refs? What's going on with Dean Blandino and his, and his referee team? Like, what's really going down, like, between the NFLs, what they telling them from the top down to the bottom?
I've never seen it happen like that. Like, usually it's an incomplete pass and they think it's a fumble, or it's a fumble, or they think it's an incomplete pass, something like that.
Right.
Or they thought he stepped out of bounds, or somebody caught the ball, they didn't think it was a catch.
Right.
But that was just clear as day. Like, Tom Brady threw the ball inbounds.
Right.
He caught the ball. He's still running. Forrest Gump over there, like,
Just-
still running.
right.
Like, why did you blow the whistle? No.
Exactly. They asked Tyrod Taylor, who went out there and played the best game he could play. He was 20 for 36 and passing for 233 yards.
That pass to LaShawn McCoy, that was
Yeah.
a nice pass. LaShawn McCoy didn't come in with the catch, but that was a nice pass. It was right in the breadbasket.
Also, the one catch that he had with Sammy, where Sammy snatches it down with the one.
Oh, that was
hand.
a good catch.
Yeah, that was a Sports Center top 10 to me. Should have been the top 10 play, but it wasn't. So anyway,
Wasn't that good. It was all right.
so I guess far as the mystery go for is the Bills being able to stop the Patriots run at perfection was a no-go. I think we've all looked at the fact that, once again, the Patriots have owned the Bills. They've owned Rex Ryan, period. I mean, they can look at Rex Ryan, just look him in his eye and say, I own you, like, period. Like, I own you.
I mean, Tom Brady did call an audible Rex Ryan.
And it's funny because one of the Bills players was like, hey, when he called that play, it's not the first time he called it, but we knew it was going to a run play. But it's like, I would still feel so disrespected that we know it was a run. And it got him a couple of yards, but still it's like, okay. If I'm a defensive player, anything you throw, anything, like, I'm calling the huddle. I'm calling the time out the huddle or something. Like, say, he just disrespected us. I don't think y'all understand. Just straight mocked us again. Because y'all heard it before.
I mean,
He mocked
Tom
us.
Brady, no.
It don't matter.
This was saying, like, you're not going to stop him.
So it's like, yo, any chance I get to lay him out, I'm going to lay him out. Even if it's 15 yards.
They were hitting him, though.
Yeah.
The Patriots' offensive line was kind of struggling to get that Buffalo Bills blitz scheme down. Offensive line was struggling, and Tom Brady was letting them know about it. I've seen multiple times Tom Brady was yelling at the offensive line,
Letting him, yeah.
and only Tom Brady can get away with that.
Because let's be for real. Tom Brady can be demonstrative when he wants to be. Like, and it's funny, like you said, for people will say, that's just passion. But wait a minute.
Well, I'm going to let you know the last person that tried to come back at Tom Brady ended up fired. People probably don't remember that.
Yeah.
Y'all remember Underwood?
Oh,
and that
yeah.
offensive assistant coach? Neither
Yeah.
one was there after that season.
Exactly.
In fact, I don't even think the coach made it past that week.
I guess when you got 4 titles, you earn that clout. But I kind of agree with this. Like, you're not going to, like, look, talk to me, but don't come at me like I'm a lesser man than you, though. So I can understand that. But once again,
I can understand why they'd be mad, but at the same time, if he's bringing in the wins, like, if you're just looking at it from an ownership perspective, all right, are we going to keep this player that's mad because Tom Brady yelled at him, who was in the wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to keep Tom Brady happy, the one that's bringing us rings and championships, without any weapons because they haven't drafted a skill player in the first round since Lawrence Maroney?
how did that turn out? Lawrence Maroney. I give the organization props from the standpoint of
They hustled Tom Brady into taking less money without getting him anything.
each
Yeah.
contract time. And then, like, they always, we just drafting players according to our system.
Crafts, thumbs up on the hustle. We appreciate that hustle. You're almost on Dana White status. It's funny, so they're still winning too. They're still winning even though they're hustling Tom Brady.
I think the Philadelphia Tanks need to take a page out of their playbook, but we'll get into that
We're
later.
going to get into Philadelphia Tanks.
The Sixers, as formed the team formerly known as the Sixers.
We did mention earlier Broncos quarterback controversy. Brock Osweiler. Peyton Manning's going to be up next right here on the Sports Machine. This is Brian Franklin on Sports Machine. It's time for your Sports Machine's daily sports ticker. And last night's Monday Night Football matchup, the New England Patriots improved to a record of 10-0 in their 20-13 win over the Buffalo Bills. Also in the NFL, Carolina Panthers defensive end Wes Horton has been suspended 4 games after testing positive for a performance-enhancing substance. And St. Louis head coach of the Rams, Jeff Fisher, said yesterday he had no idea the quarterback Case Keenum's concussion until well after Sunday's loss to the Baltimore Ravens. For the NBA scores from yesterday, the Hornets won a tight overtime game against the Kings, 127-122. The Cavaliers continued their strong start, beating the Magic 117-103. The Knicks struggled offensively in their loss to the Heat, 95-78. The Bucks won by a big margin against the Pistons, 109-88. Philadelphia is still winless after giving up their halftime lead and losing to the Timberwolves 195. The Spurs got a win against the Suns, 98-84. And in Kevin Durant's return, the Thunder were able to grab a victory over the Jazz, 111-89. Spoke on the Monday Night Football Bills-Patriots game. Patriots come out with a victory. Another AFC team looking for the playoff spot. Denver Broncos. They have a little bit of a controversy now.
Yeah.
With Brock Osweiler going in there and handling business
There is no quarterback controversy.
against the Bears.
There is no quarterback controversy. Period. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Controversy, it's coming. For those of you who don't know, the Broncos have decided to start Brock Osweiler against the Patriots this upcoming week and not Peyton Manning. Now, is this because Peyton Manning is hurt? Or is it because Peyton Manning has become
Here comes Santa Claus!
a gift basket?
You know, I still believe it's because Peyton Manning is injured. That's what I believe it. I believe he's
I mean, he's
been
hurt.
playing injured for quite some time. And I think Brock Osweiler is in there to do what Brock Osweiler is supposed to do as the backup quarterback. Manage the game, get us some wins. The more wins they get, the more they can rest Peyton Manning and bring him back and have him ready for the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I understand Brock Osweiler, 20 for 27, threw 2 touchdowns last game. Had a pretty solid game. I mean, most people will call that a mediocre or pedestrian performance. But at the same time, he threw it 27 times. He completed 20. He got 2 touchdowns.
No interceptions.
No
Most
interceptions.
important part.
Right. And once again, I understand it. But let's not forget that Chicago Bears were 1 2-point conversion away from doing what? Tying the game and possibly sending it to overtime. Like, that's what I saw. So, at the end of the day, you put all your chips on orange or black or red, whatever you want to put on green. And that chip and whatever color that was Peyton Manning's color. Now, what you asking Osweiler to do is, hey, look, control the offense. Let's not make any turnovers. Let's not do anything drastic because this is still Peyton Manning's offense, period. And for anybody who's out there talking about, well, they're trying to push him out through the back door, I don't think that's what that is. I think they're legitimately trying to get Peyton Manning healthy for his last run at a championship, for what could potentially be their last shot at winning a Super Bowl right now, because their window is only open for this season.
That's only if Brock Osweiler doesn't prove to be.
Brock Osweiler, I'm sorry, he can go out there and he could do what he do. But at the end of the day, you bring back Peyton Manning. Period. Let's not forget about what this guy's done over his career. And let's be for real. I'm going to be for real. And when I say this, I'm not a huge. You know me. You know me. I've never been a huge Manning fan. Like both of the Mannings, I've never been a huge Manning fan of the both of them. But I respect what they have done. I respect that Eli has 2 rings. I respect that. I respect what Peyton Manning has done, not just in between the lines on the football field, but the kind of ambassador he's been for the NFL off the field. And so when we look at what his greatness has been for over the many years he's played in the NFL, you owe him that right.
I don't owe him nothing.
You owe him that right to come out there, let him go out there and try to finish his season.
I don't.
Finish his career on the best note he can, because y'all put the chips on him to do that.
No.
If they didn't feel like that he was going to be A1, they should just went on ahead and let him walk out the door.
They felt like he was going to be A1, then he wasn't. You have to make the turn eventually. I'm not going to take a
Yeah.
losing seat. Like, the team is set up. You have the no-flies on defense. Right. Everyone knows how I feel about giving yourself a nickname. You're not supposed to do that. But, you know, like you said, offense affected defense. With all the turnovers Peyton Manning was having, no-fly zone started getting tired, couldn't handle it. All they need is someone to go in, not turn the ball over. It was funny to me how against the Bears, with Brock Osweiler, the Broncos magically had a run game. Why didn't they have a run game all the rest of the season with Peyton Manning at the starting quarterback? I like Peyton Manning. I like what he's done. But this year, from the small sample size we have with Brock Osweiler, Osweiler played better in his one game than Peyton Manning has the rest of the season.
No. Okay, if we're going to go comparing games, Peyton Manning's best game, you could say, was against Green Bay, when they handled Green Bay. The defense handled them, but the offense went out there and done his thing. And might I add, that was after a bye week where Peyton Manning had actually had time to rest up.
He's not going to have time to rest up the rest of the season, so why would you take that risk?
That's why they're sitting him now with the injury.
You can sit him now until the end of the season. In the playoffs, you were going to have to play games in a row. You're not taking weeks off.
Right. But he'll be healthy enough to go through the playoffs, in my opinion.
I don't see how you could come with that conclusion.
Just off of what I saw, that 1 week. He came back, they had a bye week. Bow, he was healthy. He was good to go. Got hit a few times the next game. They lost it. All right. Then next thing you know, they come out. They said, hey, he's been dealing with some crazy injuries. Plantar fasciitis in the worst way. Okay. So let's bring in this young quarterback. Let's see what he can do. If he can produce and help us win games, that could potentially get us into one of the top 2 spots where they could have a bye week in the playoffs. That only helps Peyton Manning, because that means you don't have to rush him back from injury so soon.
You're not going to sit him the rest of the season, though.
You're not going to see him the rest of the season?
The regular season, you can't. You just expect him to come back and just be good after missing so many games. And that's not fair to Brock Osweiler, especially if Osweiler goes in there and wins all these games.
I think what Osweiler will do is solidify his chances at being the starting quarterback next season after Peyton Manning.
I want to play now if I'm playing better than Peyton Manning. You mentioned the Green Bay game. What happened to the game after that? Threw 2 interceptions against the Indianapolis Colts. We know how good the Colts are in their defense. And then they go to the Chiefs and he throws 4 interceptions.
Yeah, with the plantar fasciitis, the injury. With the injury.
With the injury, all right. If I believe that.
With the injury. And I said it once during the show, what Chris Carter said that Marino told him.
If he's had that injury for weeks, why did it have against the Chiefs, it just was so much worse than against the rest of the game? Because
sometimes you have to protect players from themselves. And that's something
Gary
Gary Kubiak
started that a long time ago.
That's what
Gary
Kubiak fell on the sword and said that's what he should have done. He should have protected him from himself. He should have protected him from himself.
Kubiak did not fall on no sword. He was trying to protect himself by making it look like Peyton Manning was hurt. Oh, yes, my bad. He was hurt. I should have sat him down earlier. Nah, Kubiak is saving Kubiak right there, because really what it is, they would let Manning keep playing if he wasn't throwing all the interceptions. All right, you're injured. Go sit over there for a while. We're going to see what
because they realized that the injury was affecting his throwing motion coming from the legs.
See, you believe
that's
it.
where
I don't
that's
believe
where
it.
they get it. That's where a quarterback generates his power from, his legs. So if his legs and his and his foot is bothering the way he throws, then of course, yeah, you need to sit him down and let him get healthy.
Then they should have done it a long time ago.
But they've done it. They done it last week.
Last week, and look what
They've
happened.
done it last week.
The Broncos are actually
and they've
good
gotten
now.
the win. Right. So I think that's why they will continue to sit Peyton Manning so long as Osweiler gets them wins, so that way he can continue to get healthy and bring them the best chance to win a Super Bowl.
But he doesn't bring in the best chance.
Yeah, that's, as of right now, as of when you look at his numbers, yeah, you're right. He doesn't. But if a healthy Peyton Manning
What's
can
healthy?
actually bring them a better chance at winning the Super
I
Bowl.
want someone to explain to me what a healthy Peyton Manning can do, because it wasn't like he was lighting the scoreboard up at the beginning of the season.
Just you can look at his past, what a healthy Peyton Manning looked like. It's a plethora of seasons to go look at.
You say there's a plethora of seasons. So 2013-14 Peyton Manning is going to be the same Peyton Manning you're getting after taking all these weeks off and getting rusty. He's going to be the same exact one.
I'll take that gamble any day of the week. I'll take that risk.
You can take that.
Because of the fact that at least we have something to judge Peyton Manning on. All we have on Osweiler is just this one game. And what the preseason? Really? We finna just say Brock Osweiler looked great off in the preseason. Oh, he looked great off in the game against the Chicago Bears, even though they still had a chance to to tie the game and send it in overtime against a healthy Peyton Manning and what he has done. I take that. I take Peyton Manning any day.
If they're going to sit him, as long as you say they are going to sit him, then they're going to have a lot more than one game
Yeah.
to go off of. It's not just going to be that one game. It's going to be, if Brock Osweiler, you said they're not going to bring Peyton Manning back unless Osweiler starts losing. So let's say Osweiler goes in and starts winning games. Now you're still going to sit him.
Yeah.
That means you have a resume from Osweiler where he's winning. You know what? Screw this winning team. Bring Peyton Manning back, because he didn't look that bad in those 2 losses. 6 interceptions in 2 weeks.
Sometimes great players get that due. We just said that about Tom Brady.
Tom Brady is performing well.
Yeah, he's performing
That is the
well.
difference.
But he's had his moments where he hasn't performed well. Like that's
I want you to list
like
this
that's-
year a time Tom Brady hasn't played well.
He's had his moments where he's been seeing ghosts. They've said it. I mean, it's hard to judge it right now because they're undefeated. It's hard to pick apart an undefeated team because they've gotten wins. But it's easy to pick apart a Peyton Manning, especially when you start looking at the numbers from the standpoint of that.
They were winning.
He has so many interceptions.
They were winning, and we were still picking apart Peyton Manning. Why isn't that happening to Tom Brady? Because Tom Brady is actually performing well. Peyton Manning is not.
Right.
It is clearly by the eye. You can see Peyton Manning is not playing well.
He's not. Yeah, he's not playing well, but because he's not healthy. Tom Brady's healthy.
Apparently, he was healthy at the beginning of the season. What was wrong then? Oh, he had the fasciitis. So you telling me he played 8 games with this bad ankle, and y'all was just cool with it?
Unfortunately, I do not know. I know what I know from the past couple weeks since they've announced the injury. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is if they're going to start Osweiler for the rest of the season. But when the season ends and Peyton Manning is a much healthier Peyton Manning, you bring Peyton Manning back. And you go with the flow from there.
I don't see why you would do that. If Osweiler is winning, that'd be like if the Patriots would have decided in the Super Bowl, you know what, bring Drew Bledsoe back. Don't leave Tom Brady in.
They would have. They would have.
I don't think they would have.
They would have.
Nah.
Let's not forget Drew Bledsoe had also gotten to a Super Bowl. They would have brought if Tom Brady back then was playing putrid, was horrible. Drew would have started that second half.
Tom Brady wasn't playing that. Moving on, NBA Power Rankings right here on the Sports Machine. Sports Machine just went over the Monday Night Football matchup. Broncos, whether there's a quarterback controversy or not. Let's get into the NBA. Due to we're going to have a short week here on the Sports Machine, so we're going to go ahead and do the Power Rankings a little early in the week. Number 1, not even debatable. Golden State Warriors, correct?
Right.
Okay. I just shout out to anybody listening. If you don't have Golden State Warriors, please hit me up. I just want to know if that person exists.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, I know there's somebody out there that's hating, but anybody that I respect, hit me up. If there's anyone out there that I respect that believes the Golden State Warriors are not the number 1 team in the NBA, just let me know.
Anybody who think this team is not the number one team in the league right now is just out of straight hating.
As we go into the world of the haters.
They're out there.
Most definitely.
That's the sad part. Later on in the show, we're going to see what happens first. Will the Warriors lose first? Or will the Tanks in Philadelphia win first? Number 2 on the NBA power rankings, I have the Cavaliers.
I have the Cavaliers as well.
It's hard to dispute. LeBron James is playing at a
Extraordinary level.
I would say it's under what he's been doing, but just because that's the way he wants it.
Mm-hmm.
He's letting Kevin Love take this limelight while Kevin Love can get the limelight. Because Kevin Love is playing really well as well. It will be interesting when Kyrie Irving comes back and how everything plays out with team chemistry-wise. Number 3, I have the San Antonio Spurs.
Yes. San Antonio, most definitely.
Also playing really well. Aldridge be out for a couple games, but San Antonio Spurs, Greg Popovich,
They'll find a way.
they always seem to. They kind of like the Patriots of the NFL, where you can consistently just put them in the top 5 and no one's going to mock you for it because they're going to find a way to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, I was high on them last week. I'm even higher on them now, the Miami Heat.
I brought them in at actually number 5.
It's not bad. I like their defense and the way they've been playing. Hassan Whiteside.
Exactly.
Inside.
Like, you talk about a guy who, like, he's a sleeper guy. Like, I didn't know anything about Hassan Whiteside. And then right now he's just dominating. Something that they haven't had since Alonzo Mourning, dominating down at the big side, in the inside.
Who do you have at number 4 ahead of the Heat?
I got the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas Mavericks. All
Yeah.
right. I have the Mavericks at 6.
They just lost a 6-game winning streak the other night against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
The Thunder are actually the team I have at number 5. Kevin
Mm-hmm.
Durant come back. I think this team will be right
Hey.
there at the top of the West, right there with San Antonio and Dallas competing for that second spot behind Golden State.
And let's not forget, just last week, this team was 7th, I believe, in the power rankings last week. Like, they was 7th in, the Western Conference, the division last week. And then once again, what was said was this was minus Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
I think we all know the importance of what Kevin Durant brings to that team.
In the return tonight, they did beat Utah
Mm-hmm.
111-89. Kevin Durant dropped 27 points. Doesn't look like the injury is bothering him.
Right.
Number 6, I mentioned I had the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your number 16?
Number 6 for me is the Oklahoma City.
All right. Number 7, I have the Chicago Bulls.
I got you. Yeah, I like that as well.
I think the Bulls have the amount they have improved since the first week in defense to me is it was surprising because I thought without Thibodeau was going to be really bad because it looked really bad.
Right.
Let's call it what it was. They looked bad on defense. Jimmy Butler called them out saying, "Man, we're not playing defense."
And it seemed to spark them. Since then.
They're going to have the decision coming up of Derrick Rose. I think it's got to the point where Jimmy Butler is the leader of that team.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Derrick Rose wasn't necessarily just a voiceful leader anyway, but he led by example. But without being on the court, you can't really lead them by example.
Exactly.
So Jimmy Butler kind of took that role, and he seems to have more of a voice.
And rightfully so. I mean, he's a good star player.
I believe so. I don't know if he's not Derrick Rose when Derrick Rose came in the league,
No way.
but he's better than Derrick Rose what Derrick Rose is right now.
I think that's what everybody, and myself included, is still holding on to. When we think of Derrick Rose, we think of you remember the skills competition that one year off in the NBA? Can't remember what All-Star game it was, but he was off in the point guard skills competition. And most make this real quick. Most point guards, they tend, after they get through the final obstacle, they go and they'll lay it up. D Rose goes up, rises real high, jacks the ball back behind his head, feet back behind his back, boom, slams it. And everybody's like, yo, this guy needs to be in a dunk contest next year. And then what happened after that? Knee injury. And that's what I still hold on with Derrick Rose, and I think that's what the whole fan base is. But hopefully he can get back to that level, if not that level, at least some level of it.
Number 8, I have the Indiana Pacers. I like what I've seen. I've seen enough out of Paul. I mentioned it before. I've seen enough out of Paul George where I believe he's back to where he was, if not better.
I have the Pacers there as well. Then after that, I got Toronto.
I have Atlanta, and then Toronto.
So we basically got it flipped then.
We got it flipped. The only reason I like Atlanta a little better than Toronto is because last year Atlanta looked so good. But Toronto's played really well. A couple teams I wanted to throw in, but kind of couldn't, was Washington and Boston. But with Marcus Smart being injured last 3-4 weeks, it's been kind of difficult.
Right. Well, with Washington, they've been a bit underwhelming. Is that hard?
They're getting wins, but they do not look as good as I thought they were going to look.
Right.
I think it's going to take a little time to replace what Paul Pierce actually brought to that team.
Right.
Hopefully John Wall will. I think John Wall's the leader of the team, and hopefully he brings it together. Like I was high on Washington before the season. Everybody knows me, knows I'm high on Washington because I like their player. I like how they built that team.
Right. And it's because you were so high on them, I actually began to look at them. And then when I had the chance to watch some of their games, I'm looking like there's flashes during some quarters. And then there's other point in time where you're like, this is just a usual Eastern Conference kind of team. But when you look at our power rankings, though, top to bottom, I have more Eastern Conference teams in the mix than Western Conference. It's the 4 teams I got in my power rankings is Golden State, San Antonio, Dallas, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
That's it. So
it's the same here.
Right. So it's like, you asked me once before, has the Eastern Conference taken a turn? And once again, this is still early on in the season. But as of right now, when you look at Miami, when you look at Cleveland, when you look at Indiana, who's still trying to recover and get some things back, you can say that.
So I believe
it's up for a debate.
So I believe it's evened out. And you actually look at it, the Eastern Conference, looks like they have more teams, but the Western Conference has better teams.
Right.
At the top.
Right.
When you look at the Eastern Conference, the top 3, and then after that, you look at the Western Conference, it looks like it's a little bit stronger at the top 4.
Right. And not to mention, they was expecting, I think the Western Conference was expecting a whole lot more out of the Pelicans, who are 3-11 right now, than what they look like now.
Coming up on the Sports Machine, does Golden State lose first, or will the Philadelphia Tanks win first? Right here.
I am Dwayne Dean, and this is your Sports Machine News Update. There's a quote, very, very good possibility that LSU will buy out Les Miles' contract. A high-ranking source involved in the decision regarding the coach's future told ESPN on Monday. Quote, Louisiana, we expect national championships and we're not ended. Close quote. The sources told ESPN. On Monday, LeBron James joined Oscar Robertson as the only player in NBA history to rank in the top 25 all-time in both points and assists. But James does not want the accomplishment to spark a conversation comparing his career with the Big O's. Quote, I think we get caught up in our league too much is trying to compare greats with greats instead of just accepting and acknowledging and saying, wow, these are just great players. Close quote. Kentucky's back in a very familiar spot on top of the Associated Press college basketball poll. The Wildcats, who were number 1 every week last season, moved up 1 spot Monday following North Carolina's loss to Northern Iowa. 4-0 Kentucky beat then number 5 Duke in the Championship Classic last week. The Wildcats received 59 first-place votes from the 65 members national media panel. Carolina Panthers defensive end Wes Harden has been suspended for 4 games, testing positive for performance-enhancing substance. Harden's suspension begins immediately. He will be eligible to return following the team's December 20th game against the New York Giants. In addition to Harden, Wide receiver Stephen Hill was also suspended 1 game. His suspension stems from a July incident in which he was stopped and cited for possession of marijuana. That was your Sports Machine News Update. I am Dwaylen Dean, Sports Machine.
Sports Machine with Brian and Dean went over the Monday Night Football matchup between the Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots. Patriots coming out on top, 20-13. Broncos. Is there a quarterback controversy? NBA power rankings, and right now, Philadelphia, the team I call the Tanks. Some other people call them by some number or something. I don't know why they would do that. They haven't been that team since AI. Either one. Either AI you want to throw out there.
Right.
Yesterday, they almost got a win.
Close, but no cigar.
Against the Timberwolves, they had a halftime lead. It looked good for them. Andrew Wiggins scores 32 points. Maybe they just gave it up in the fourth quarter.
Straight taking it.
Then you have the Warriors on the other hand. Look like they might get a loss against the Denver Nuggets, but they're just that good where even if you play some of your best basketball, you still.
They just find a way. If this was Dragon Ball Z, I think we know who's Goku and who's Krillin.
The Tanks aren't Krillin. They're not even on that level. They on. I'm trying to think of a character worse than
But
Krillin.
you want to call him Jiaozu?
I'm gonna call him Hercule.
Yo, that's you know what? That's about right. When you look at their record right now, yeah, that's Hercule right there. But at least he won the national. At least he won. You know what I'm saying? At least he won a World Martial Arts tournament. Wow, we just took this from basketball to anime. Nice.
So rises the question: will Golden State Warriors lose first, or will the Philadelphia Tanks win first?
I think
Because I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I'm not 100% sure.
I can't back off my decision because early in one of our shows, I said I felt like Golden State will be undefeated till beginning of next year.
That's so outlandish.
Because
That is-
like, I said that, so it's like I can't back off of it. So it's like I have to say Philly will win a game before. I guess Philly's O will go before Golden State's O. Because you told me about some of the games that that Golden State will face, and that could be losses, potential losses. I think one was like against Toronto.
Toronto's.
I think they was playing in Toronto, as a matter of fact, when you looked at the schedule. And I said that's it's possible. But then again, when I look at the way this team, once again, if you're not playing perfect basketball, you won't beat this team.
I just think the new year, that's tip of the limb right there. Like, you're not just hanging on the limb, you're hanging on the little twig.
Hanging on by pinky. Yeah, I hang on by that pinky right now. And once again, I'm a hardcore Mavs fan, so I need y'all to I need Golden State to go ahead and make that happen.
If they last until New Year's without losing a game, that conversation about the Chicago Bulls and Golden State Warriors, we're going to have that conversation for real, for real.
I'm down. Never want to back away.
Looking at the 76ers schedule, I'm going to go through the games.
Right.
Let's try to name some where they can win. They going to Boston Wednesday.
Nope.
Going to Houston Friday.
Nope.
Going to Memphis Sunday.
Nope. Even though they're not the same defensive team. Nope.
On the 1st of December, they play the Lakers at home. They play in Philadelphia.
Oh.
Like that's
possible. That's a maybe. That's a maybe.
Possible.
That's a maybe.
The next day they go to New York to play the Knicks.
That's a loss for sure.
All right, then they play the Nuggets in Philadelphia.
That's a maybe. That's a maybe.
Yeah. Spurs in Philadelphia.
Oh, this is done. Win for the Spurs.
Then they go to Brooklyn.
That's a maybe too.
I agree with that.
Because
More
Brooklyn,
more strongly than the Denver one. The Denver one I'm kind of iffy on, but the Brooklyn, yeah, that's.
I have to go out on a limb and name a team that they're gonna beat because I just said it. Oh man, please let have somebody else.
The Lakers are the 1st of December. I think is their best chance for a while.
Right.
Then they play Detroit in Philadelphia after Brooklyn.
Oh no way.
Then Toronto at Toronto.
That's a done loss.
Then the very next day they go to Chicago.
That's a loss.
After a day off, they go to Atlanta.
Are they getting blowed out?
Then they go back to Philadelphia to play the Knicks.
That's a loss.
Then they go to Cleveland.
I don't even need to even say anything about that game.
In Philadelphia, they play the Grizzlies.
That's a loss. Yeah. They have to get that win because I said 3 maybes so far, right?
Yeah.
It's Lakers,
Lakers,
Denver. And
and Brooklyn.
yeah,
Then they go to Milwaukee.
that's a loss.
And they go to Phoenix.
That's a maybe too. That
I'm
is a
high
maybe.
I'm high on Phoenix. I already know that. Then they go to Utah.
Okay, I'll take that back. I go back. That's a loss for Phoenix, but then with Utah, that's a maybe.
I don't think so.
I think Utah is a maybe.
Then they go to Sacramento.
That's a loss.
Now we're at the 1st of January. So through the 1st of January, we got like 3 or 4 maybes, and some of those to me were a little bit stretchish.
Right.
But actually, I agree with you. I think Philadelphia will probably win before Golden State loses because I think it's easier to get a random win than to randomly lose when you're the Warriors unless...
A fluke half-court shot will win you a game. Like, it's a win. Done deal. Like, we've seen it happen. We've seen... Derek Fisher one time in the playoffs against the Spurs.
We're not going to talk about that because I'm still very convinced that was after the buzzer. To this day.
It was say he's in his feelings when it comes to that one. But like I said, all it takes is a shot like that. A Steph Curry shot like he did a couple of weeks ago. And the 76ers win.
I'm looking at the Golden State Warriors schedule and I'm trying to find one.
It's hard, though.
Because you go, the rest of November is the Lakers, the Suns, the Kings, and the Jazz. Those are the 4 games they have left in November.
And this team can outscore them.
Yeah.
They don't, neither one of those teams have enough offense.
Then they play Charlotte.
That's a win.
Then this is the game. They go to Toronto on December 5th. They've been on the road already, and they got to go on the road.
That's a back-to-back game?
It's not back-to-back.
Okay. I feel more
But they have like a
confident
7-game road trip.
They do?
Yeah, they go to Utah, Charlotte, Toronto, Brooklyn. So lucky for them, they have some easier teams in there.
Yeah.
Indiana. I think that this December 5th against Toronto and December 8th against Indiana will be
difficult.
Be their best chances to lose. Then they go to Boston. The reason that might be hard is because if Marcus Smart is back, yeah, Marcus Smart,
plays defense.
Avery Bradley, Isaiah Thomas with the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
They have defenders that can
Make it
difficult for them to score. Okay? I'm not gonna say stop them because that's not gonna happen. It's Stephen Curry.
He's on the league. He's on another planet, man. He's a league of his own.
The last game of that 7-game road trip is Milwaukee.
They're gonna give Milwaukee the business.
Yeah. Then the next game they might lose Christmas Day. They play Cleveland. In
crap.
Golden State though.
I'm confident. I'm sticking with it, man. Christmas Day in Golden State, that ring is gonna be rocking. Yeah, that's a win.
December 30th and
A close win.
December 30th and December 31st. December 30th they go to Dallas. Or I guess come to Dallas since we're in Dallas. And then 31st they go to Houston. We know what Houston is right now, but still back-to-back road games in Texas.
Oh, so they go through the Texas Triangle just at the beginning of the year then.
They don't play the Spurs.
They don't? Okay. My Mavs will make it difficult, but my Mavs don't have enough. They're not. Their defense, their chemistry on defense is not good enough to beat this team, unfortunately.
I'm going to bring up my biggest problem with your prediction is because if they make it to January without losing, their first 3 games is Denver and Golden State, Charlotte and Golden State, and then going to Los Angeles to play the Lakers.
Wow.
So they would be a week into January.
And still,
It's still a problem.
that would make them what, about like 20-something and 30? They looking like they can break the record. I think the team, it's 33-0 set by Boston. Is the longest a team has went undefeated. I could be wrong.
If they make it through January 5th, I believe that'd make them 35.
35, so they will blow out by 2 games Boston's record. Because I think Boston was the only team to go that long without a win. Go that long without a loss. I think it was 33-0, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, y'all have to check me on that to be for sure. But last time I remember looking at, I believe it was Boston at the top of that.
Yeah, it does not look. The Philadelphia Tanks have hope that they can get a win before Golden State loses.
And usually that's where we would drop the song, Fabulous Hope.
Jada. Moving on from the NBA to the NFL. There's an interesting debate going around. And I believe, how big are numbers in the NFL? Because right now we have a 2-man race, it seems, in the NFL on who is the league MVP. Would you have Cam Newton or Tom Brady? Tom Brady is putting up those numbers, while Cam Newton is not putting up those numbers, but he is putting up those wins.
Right.
And is kind of become, how do I put this, like Michael Vick without the bad side, even though I guess he ripped down a sign, so he's a bad guy, or he dabbed on somebody, whatever. To where you want to watch him play, you want to see what he's going to do.
Right.
So it's numbers versus, I guess you'd call highlight reel, with wins.
What makes it such a hard debate is that one key thing that you said. The NFL has become a numbers-driven game. You know, everything is about
We got the daily fantasy sports.
exactly everything has become about the numbers. And once upon a time, it was mostly about the wins. You know, I think Cam is just playing in a bad era. Like, had this been 20 years ago, nobody would have cared, because the only thing everybody cared about almost 20 years ago was, how do you win? Do you win games? That's all that mattered if you won. Now, it's not about when you win or how you win. It's what did you put up with that win. You could have had a putrid day, but then the rest of the team, with the NFL being such the ultimate team sport, you could say, well, they won in spite of your quarterback's horrible performance. And right now, Tom Brady is playing with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, can you believe that above 35-year-old quarterback with 4 Super Bowl titles has his team undefeated and he has a chip on his shoulder?
Roger.
Once again. And so I think that sucks for Cam, because Tom Brady's out there playing right now. I mean, like I said, he has 4 rings. Yeah, he's out there to try to beat his idol, to at least tie his idol's number, who is Joe Montana, who has 5.
I think an interesting stat I think people should look at. You look at Tom Brady. He has 24 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, which brings him a total of 26 with only 3 interceptions.
Which is just
That's just not
incredible. Like,
I mean,
when was the last time he even threw an interception? You don't know about tonight. Tonight was the last time.
Yeah.
I mean, Monday night was the last time he
Buffalo,
threw one. Yeah.
then you look at Cam Newton, who has 20 passing touchdowns, but he has 6 rushing touchdowns. So that's the same amount of touchdowns total.
Right.
And Cam Newton has thrown 9 interceptions, albeit 3 of them were in the same game.
And see, you can't even make an argument for that, because if you say, well, he's missing his best wide receiver. Well, then you look at Tom Brady and say, when has he ever had a best wide receiver since
Randy.
in West?
Right. Well,
Since he had the slot machine back then.
I don't consider Wes Welker good.
No, all right.
I'm not gonna say not good. Not a,
In
a
the
threat.
same,
Not a number one.
he's not
number
the
one.
same in the same, I guess, level as the Randy Mosses and
He's not even Kelvin Benjamin level to me.
Oh wow, okay,
Even because people look at Wes Welker. All right, before Peyton Manning, he was cut
yeah,
from other teams, and then he went to
Miami. That's where they traded.
yes,
and got
yeah,
him.
they cut him, and then after New England, he went to Denver where he had Peyton Manning.
Yeah, it became his new slot machine,
Yes.
but it still wasn't the same.
So he-
I can understand that, but right now, as much as the tear that Tom Brady is on, I can't really say we've seen it before, but we've seen something like it. It's not the same exact thing, but it's something like it. But with what Cam is doing right now for his team, like he's taking that Superman name to another level where, granted, they have a great defense. Let's not knock their defense. Their defense has had its moments, but they still have two of the best middle linebackers in the game on their team. They also have a young stud cornerback over there who's playing like he's going to be something for them for years and years. And this team still drives off of what Cam can do. So I want to say Cam for that reason, because of what Cam is doing with less. But then once again, everybody's argument is always going to be, well, what does Tom have? You know, what does Tom have at the receiving spot? All he has is Gronkowski. Well, the counter to Gronkowski. Olsen is no Gronkowski, but he's been a great blanket for him.
The interesting note about the defense, you mentioned how good Carolina's defense has been.
Uh-huh.
New England's defense is ranked 4th in the league in points per game.
Wow.
4th fewest. And Carolina is 5th, or tied for 5th.
Wow. So they both have
So
stellar
have
defenses helping them out.
Defensive has been on deck for both teams. So to me, that's about even. I think if it wasn't for how good Tom Brady was doing,
Right.
I would give it to Cam Newton, even if Tom Brady was having a Tom Brady season, but not this, not what he's doing right now.
This is man on fire Tom Brady. Like, yo, I'm taking.
Like, this is Kobe Muse, like
It's like, okay, I tear the whole league up.
like gone, transform. I don't care anymore. Like,
Right.
destroying everything.
Exactly.
Like that.
Right. Like this Tom Brady is worse than when they actually went on that undefeated streak all the way to the Super Bowl. Because back then that was a team chip on the shoulder. That was a team type of deal. You know, coach type of deal, because he was out there, let's not forget. Even when they came down here and played Dallas, their undefeated season, and they was running up the score on everybody to prove a point. Like we was calling that, you know, what the FBS, like they was doing some BCS. They was making a BCS bid to make it into the BCS championship game. Like people was mad at them for it, but it's like, if you ain't gonna stop me, we gonna play all the way through. That was a team chip. This is a Tom Brady's chip, and Tom Brady's chip is like sweet Jesus. Like, that's all I can really say is like sweet Jesus. Like every team that has gotten dominated or even beaten by them, it's one thing you get beaten, but they've outclassed some teams. You call New York, you say, hey Roger, thanks.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Your contribution to the NFL is greatly
Right.
appreciated here,
Right.
but
Right.
if you can not call Tom Brady again, that would be nice.
Right. The whole little deal you got going on with we're going to bring this back up again. You're only throwing ether on a fire. I don't think you understand what ether does to fire. But if you don't know, look up the video.
It's not good.
It's not good.
So with that being said, had it been last year's Tom Brady versus this year's Cam Newton, I would take Cam Newton for MVP because I think he's kind of getting underrated because his numbers aren't great.
Right.
How he's carrying the offense is kind of impressive.
Right.
But just this year's Tom Brady is just so good that I can't even give it to Cam.
And the thing is when you look at when the Panthers lost Kelvin Benjamin, everybody was looking like
Writing the offense off at least.
exactly like everybody was like, yo, like what else is Cam like? Everybody began to feel bad for Cam and say, yo, like what else can this guy do? Like he lose his best weapon in preseason practice and not in the game, in a preseason practice. And now look at him like it. For everybody who's pitting him, now they look like, man, like this guy's doing it with nothing at all. Once again, I agree with you full and wholeheartedly, man.
It's time. Things in sports make you say. Right here on the Sports Machine. Who would like to go first?
I'm going to make this real quick. I'm going to try to keep this at least about a couple of minutes. My really though goes to Johnny Manziel. Unfortunately, Johnny is being Johnny right now. There's a TMZ video out of him being in Austin at a couple of bars, and what is, according to TMZ, I want to make sure I make that clear. According to TMZ, someone gave him a video. Someone has given him a video of Johnny Manziel being seen with champagne bottles and just bottles of alcohol in his hands, you know, just partying, living it up, rapping, just having fun from what I see in the video. But the problem with it is that Johnny Manziel, as earlier this year, said he had an alcohol problem and he was going to go fix it. He was even quoted as saying that, you know, he needed help and he was just trying to be a better man, be a better teammate, and be a more positive influence. And I say to Johnny, really though, because now with this video that they do have, which once again, I want to make sure I make this clear, there is non-alcoholic champagne out there. But it's the perception right now. It's the perception that you give off to other teams, because if you're not, you may not even be drinking. He may not even be doing what they're accusing him of doing, but once again, it's always that perception. Because now, if you're not going to be the Cleveland Browns franchise quarterback, or if they're not going to keep you, you need to be auditioning for other teams at what you can do for that other teams out there. So once again, this video it's on TMZ Sports. If y'all want to check it out. Johnny Manziel, put yourself in a better position. Really though?
I'm gonna go to the NBA for my really though. As you mentioned in your news, LeBron James accomplished something big. Top 25 in both points and assists is only Oscar Robertson has done.
Big O.
And I'm glad, he came out and said, don't compare greats, which is what he's supposed to say. Don't compare me to Oscar Robertson. Right. But then he went a little too far to me when he says, and I quote, I think in the NFL, when you talk about great quarterbacks, they don't really compare great quarterbacks. They say, oh, Joe Montana is great. Tom Brady is great. Aaron Rodgers is great. Steve Young is great. Bradshaw, all those quarterbacks. They never compare them as much.
What?
Really, though? We don't compare them? I compare Tom Brady to Joe Montana about every other week.
Right.
Because you always got some old heads trying to say Joe Montana's the greatest thing since sliced bread, which he probably was. I didn't just watch him in his prime.
Right.
And then you got me over here, grew up on Tom Brady. Talking about Tom Brady, the greatest of all time.
Which is what we debated yesterday in our show with LT and the running backs. Like, you can only talk about Jerome Bettis and LT and Emmitt Smith, guys have you seen, compared to Gale Sayers and a Walter Payton and the other plethora of great running backs of old.
It happens everywhere, LeBron.
Right.
There's always going to be the last generation versus the new generation.
Right.
They're always going to compare greats.
Even in music.
Of course.
Right. Like, because we debated right now, like with the guard. Okay.
Yeah, we don't go in that too far.
Right.
You're going to get compared to greats when you're great. Everyone wants to know who's better, LeBron, Oscar Robertson, LeBron, Magic Johnson, LeBron, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe. You're going to be compared to all the greats if you're great.
What I think is great is the fact that your name can be brought up in the same category as those guys. That's when you've done something great.
You could just say thank you. You could just say thank you. I appreciate the comparison, but I don't think I don't think we should compare us because we're not really the same player.
And I think that in comparing greats, like he said, actually creates a great debate.
Yeah.
For those of us who like to debate, those of us like to listen to sports shows, because yes, we we do a sports show, but we also listen to outside sports shows as well. I think that gives up great debate, great talk.
I'm just over here arguing about Peyton Manning
And Brock Osweiler, for crying out loud. Like,
I mean,
the
who does
spirited
that?
debate at that. Like,
I'm saying.
I think spirit levels were starting to get up for a second there. It was like, whoa.
Great show today.
Fantastic, man.
We do have the pick sixes coming up later in the week.
Early pick sixes at that.
Short
Thanksgiving pick six.
So, short week. Plus, Tuesday, we know it's releasing tonight. College football playoff. Be interesting if OU sneaks in,
Somebody's going to be
Iowa
upset.
sneak in,
Somebody.
Michigan State sneak in. Somebody's going to be left out. And of course, we're going to have to talk about it
Exactly. Which is
Oh.
why we love sports.
because we compare greats
Most definitely.
right here on the Sports Machine.
Peace out.